TIFU by being in the bathroom for so long that the restaurant thought I had dined and dashed. By user OKMarket 284. I went to a Chinese buffet against my better judgment. Ate my food. It predictably opened my bowels right up because the fat content. Couldn't really hold it and wait for the bill. So I grabbed my stuff because I didn't want it out in the open when I'd be in the bathroom a while. Apparently, the waitress only saw me load my stuff up and then just disappear when she looked back. I got done taking a long shit and came out to them talking to the police. They saw me. I talked to the cops. They got called for a dine and dash and showed up because it's a slow day. I explained the situation to them. They asked why I had taken all my stuff with me. I told them it was because I knew it would be a while and didn't want anything stolen. It was lighthearted. The cops, waitress, and me had a laugh. I paid my bill and left. Doctor was in the bathroom so long that the restaurant thought I had dined and dashed and called the cops. TIFU for thinking I've been laid off for 2 months. My user Scott's94. So we'll add updates at the bottom. Okay, I'm honestly still trying to figure out what the hell is going on at the moment, but here it goes. For some context, I work remote for a kind of large 3-people consulting company that merged with another company not too long ago. So things have been a shit show over the last year, to say the least. My role is kind of niche. I work almost directly with my clients. Don't technically have a boss, thus have little oversight. Back at the end of January, I received an ominous Teams link on a Friday afternoon urging me to jump on. I already knew it was a layoff. Luckily, I've seen it coming for a few months as the account I worked with was struggling financially, as were many of my other clients. I had done a final interview for a new job and had an offer on the table already, so no sweat off my back. After going through the whole song and dance on the call with about 50 other people, they announced that they would pay out 3 months severance paid out bi-weekly and allow us to finish the last few days of the month. Kind of a good deal for me since I was already lined up for a new job, so I'm basically copying an extra few paychecks on top of getting a better job. So I said goodbye to my colleagues and clients over the next few days, sent my laptop back, went on a little impromptu vacation for a big golf tournament, and started my new job a few weeks later. A few odd things happened during that time. I never technically received a separation letter, just all of the email instructions and acknowledgments. But the checks were clearing, so I didn't care. I kept getting calls and texts asking about my progress on X's project and things like that. Just assumed it was a mix-up. Fast forward to this morning. I get this kind of nasty gram call from an HR manager, and she starts with, "Hi, you're 2 weeks behind on XI's required annual training. This is a mandatory item that must be completed on a yearly basis without exception, and you haven't responded to my multiple requests to complete. Why?" I respond, "Oh, I'm no longer with the firm. I was part of the layoffs. You must still have me on the compliance list." To which she replies, "No, you weren't." "What do you mean? Did you leave the company?" After going back and forth trying to explain to her, she stops and says, "Oh fuck," and says she will call me back. Turns out I wasn't laid off. What I guess happened is that someone else with the same last name and their first name is the same as my middle name, which I go by a variation of, and they added me to the lists, which I don't understand how that didn't get caught, especially since the other guy in a completely different department knew. And even more so, it blows my mind it took them almost 2 months to realize I wasn't even working there. My clients didn't know any better, but it's almost laughable they managed to fuck up that bad, haha. No idea what I'm supposed to do from here, haha. Told her. Someone ever fucked up, presumable multiple times, added me to layoff lists by mixing my name up with someone else. Took them 2 months to figure out I didn't realize I was still employed. Update 1, 8/27, ATM ceased. Manager called me back saying we'd have a call at 11 to properly sort this out the right way together and went full professional mode this time. Very intrigued to see how this goes. I consulted a lawyer friend of mine whose advice very much echoed many of the things you said on here, and that I should say as little as possible and that my responses should be more of, I don't know, tell me what happened, as opposed to giving any interpretation from my end. My plan is this. If they ask, I'll tell them I'd love to have my position back and leave out the fact I'm already working another job. In the case they do bring me back, I'll just work both concurrently for a bit as I'm still in training and haven't been assigned to an account officially at my new company, and I'll just wait for things to cool off before I put in an actual notice. Others have mentioned working multiple jobs. Long term, I can't do that. While the company I worked for didn't know I was gone, the client would figure it out pretty quickly if I wasn't present. And I do pretty intensive work for them, so it's not viable long term. Update to 1VM ceased. They owned up to the mistake and no harm. Thank Jesus. But They want to bring me back to the firm like nothing ever happened. From what I could garner listening between the lines, they realize their biggest issue isn't what happened to me, but the fact the client is still being billed for an unmanaged aspect of the project, as they so eloquently put it. So I'm pretty sure their goal is to put me back on the account in a different place, as if I was there the whole time and not let the client figure that out. Which I don't feel comfortable doing because I'm sure I'll have to sign someday regardless for this. Fucking wild, haha. TIFU, by taking my daughter's in medicine at 9:30 p.m. by user Apple Farm. I'm 40th, currently on a road trip with my daughter, Ninef. We arrived at a random hotel last night about 9 p.m. and shortly after started getting ready for bed. My daughter has AD and takes Vyvanse. Well, somehow when I went to take my nighttime med, I accidentally grabbed her 20 Vyvanse as opposed to my Doxepin, and then took 2. It took me a few hours to piece it together. I was laying awake, so anxious, and grinding my teeth. It was an awful night, but at least I get to drive for 6 hours later. We may need to pull over at some point for sure. I take driving safety very seriously. Currently, I'm still buzzing from the meds. Glad the grandparents are on the other end of this drive so I can hopefully nap. Definitely a big Tell doctor took my kids Vyvanse at 9:30 p.m. instead of my own nighttime med. Have a 6-hour drive ahead of us. TIFU, by admitting it was my dog's poo, the yellow lab ate. By user Cornhole Masterone, I am 49, have a very small dog. She's only 4 Ls. I walk her frequently and always pick up the little turds. TIFU, by running out of poo bags that I have attached to the leash. My dog did her thing, and when I realized I was out of bags, I decided to make a mental note of where it was and walk about 20 yards down the path to a dog waste station that has a roll of plastic bags. As I returned to pick up the poo, a lady about 65 years old, walking a yellow lab and talking on her phone, approached the spot where my dog left her poo. The lady stops right next to that spot, talking on her phone. I was approaching to ask her to move a little so I could pick up the turd, and then it happened. Just as I said, "Excuse me."
Her dog ate the turd. One gulp. It was gone. She looked annoyed with me and asked, "Yes, what do you want?"
Standing there with the poo bag in hand, ready to pick it up, I replied, and here's where I really fight. "Oh, never mind. I was going to pick up my dog's poop, but it looks like your dog took care of that." She flipped out and started prying her dog's mouth open, yelling at me and generally making a scene. I was chastised for not picking up the poo, and I explained I was returning to get it, etc. I apologized and started to leave. She then said, "Wait, I need to see your ID. You are going to pay for my dog's vet bill. I'm calling the police." I told her I'm sure her dog will be fine. Every Labrador I've ever known eats poop almost daily. I left and walked home. I remained calm, but I wasn't going to hang out with her going crazy. About 15 minutes later, I got a knock at my door. It was the police. I discussed the situation with the officer. Apparently, the crazy lady followed me, so she knows where I live. Great. She actually called 911 about this. The officer said he didn't see any criminal violations, so he was just going to file a brief report and be done with it. He laughed a little with me and maintained his professionalism, despite a rather odd 911 call response. Hope I don't get sued. Teal. Dr. A yellow lab ate my dog's poo. The owner got mad and called the police. TIFU, by calling my overly sniffing coworker creepy. By user LeatherDonut1527. Alright, Reddit. Here's how I messed up today. This coworker, 20Zef, is always super friendly and talks to me a lot. But there's one thing that throws me off. She constantly comments on how I smell different from our other colleagues of the same ethnicity. It's a compliment, I guess, but weirdly specific. So today I walk into the office and isn't there yet. But the second I enter, she calls out, "Is that you?" Oh, well, I say yes, and she replies, "Oh yeah, I thought I smelled you." Now, this wasn't my brightest moment, but I blurted out, "Yeah, that's not creepy at all." There were some laughs, but the atmosphere got weird. I apologized right away for calling her creepy, but she's been giving me the cold shoulder ever since. TIFU, by overreacting, or is this a valid discomfort level? Tell Dr. Coworker I keeps complimenting my distinct scent and seems to track me by smell. It weirds me out. Today, she confirmed it again. I panicked and called it creepy. Probably not the best choice. Now, I was mad. Did I overstep, or is this a valid concern? Edit. To clarify a few details. I'm a man in my late 20s. The coworker, is a woman in her 20s. When she commented on my scent, we weren't looking at each other, and there was some distance between us, around 1.5 meters. I do wear cologne, and she has complimented it in the past. This comment about smelling me was the first thing she said to me, and it initiated our conversation. As far as I know, she isn't romantically interested in me. In fact, I believe I overheard her mention being a lesbian to other colleagues. I typically receive compliments on my cologne from both men and women,